I'm trying not to. We're alive. Well, g'day guys. Welcome to Dorn Valley Christian Fellowship. Tonight's just a special night. I'm trying to get together, as I've said before, videos that are about God at work. God at work in our lives. And it's all, I guess, hopefully to encourage you to see that God works everywhere, not just through the minister, but through our day-to-day life. And tonight I'm really privileged. Now, I've been doing these videos for a while, and Mum's been here a number of times, and I haven't actually thought about it until this trip down. I'm like, Mum's got some interesting stories through her life. She's done a range of different things. So I put the hard word on. I said, Mum, do you want to do a video? And she said, nope. And I'm like, well, it's a bit of bad luck. This is what I want. This is what I want to talk to you about. So, hey, Mum.
Hi.
Now, you're not just Mum, but what's your actual name?
Kerrie.
Kerrie. Excellent. Most of our friends call you Mum, don't they, really?
Well, it depends on what you introduce me as.
Yeah.
Most grandma or mum.
Yeah, that's it. So tonight, we've got a couple of things. I've hopefully prepared you well. Can you start off with I want to say your early testimony, because our testimony changes as life rolls on. But what was life like as a teenager going to church? Mum, you went to church growing up.
Yes.
So fill us in a bit of that. Paint us a picture.
Well, I suppose I think the most important thing, I'll go back earlier than that, because we moved to Hurstville and Dad had been brought up in the Methodist church, although his parents didn't go. But the 4 kids had to go to Sunday school, and so therefore it went on from there into their, Dad's chasing girls, I should say.
Yep.
As the boys did in those days.
Mum, I'll let you in a secret. It hasn't changed.
Okay, well, it hasn't changed, so you can enjoy that. But when we moved to Hurstville, the family came. So Dad and Mum and my brother and myself went to Sunday school, and but then after about 2 years, I think it was 3 years, we moved from the Methodist church to the Presbyterian church. And from there we went to Sunday school, and the Billy Graham's crusade came in 59, and I was very involved with Sunday school and teaching Sunday school, and then went on to be a leader of one of the sections of the Sunday school.
And you were what age doing that?
16.
16? No, that's okay.
16.
I mean, I was helping lead youth, junior
Yes.
high youth. Just a quick thing, and I haven't asked you this. Was there such thing as youth group?
Oh, yes.
Okay,
in the Sunday, yes.
Yep,
yes.
okay.
Well, when you went through Sunday school, when you got to the age of, I think it was 15,
Yep.
16, they had a fellowship, a youth fellowship, which was pretty big at that stage. And all the gorgeous fellas were there.
So you were there chasing boys?
Of course,
Yeah, okay.
of course.
Just to make sure it was even. Just to make sure it's even, Mum.
Oh, yes. Yes, it was even.
Yeah.
And our church was very evangelical, and we produced, I can't remember now, something like 10 or 12 ministers.
Wow.
That's besides all the missionaries that went out from our church. We were very, very focused on ministry and missions. So that's the area, it was instilled in us.
Yep.
And in '59, when the Billy Graham Crusade came out, we went as a fellowship many times, not just once, many times. And yes, I gave my life to Christ in that Billy Graham Crusade. And so did my parents and my brother. Well, he was young, and so he went forward with Mum and Dad. But that's okay until he went to school, and they one of the teachers at school went off a brain and told the kids at school that, you know, Jesus was nothing, and yes, carried on. So Alec dropped out. But after that, yes, I was still involved in Sunday school, and yeah, continued on there. And then at 16, I left school and went to work, and had to go to
year 10. What the equivalent? The equivalent of our year 10 now.
Yep. Because we only went to third year, and then we from there I went to the bank. Everybody had to go to the bank, says Mum, and so she proceeded to take me to the bank to be interviewed, and I got a job at the bank, worked with the bank for 3 years, and then had another couple of admin jobs. Then, let me see, because John's father, Cameron's father, that's Cameron, yes.
Yeah, I'm Cameron, Dad's John.
Yes. I'd met him at the Methodist Sunday School.
Yep.
And so we kept in touch. And as my father would say, Daddy, can we go down Western Road? It's going back.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Talking about streets in Hurstville here, aren't we?
Yes,
yep.
Yes. Certain people lived in certain streets.
Yep.
But then we got married, and we had our 2 children, Cameron being one of them. And
Nikki, my older sister.
Yes. Yep. And then my marriage broke up, and which was sort of devastating. And through that time.
So what church were you going to by then? Because
we're still at. Sorry.
No,
we were at. Once we got married, we moved to Sutherland, and
Kerrie, weren't you?
We lived at Kerrie.
Kerrie, Sutherland. You're on the border there, the house.
Yes. And we went to the Gymea Baptist Church then, and that was really, really a good time. Got involved, much to my former husband's wants. But anyway, I went and got very involved in that. And you know, when you look back, it doesn't matter what you're doing, God is there leading you.
Yep.
You don't know at the time. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. But God was leading me in a different direction. And I was on my own for 13 years. But in that time, I was very involved, heavily involved in church, but it was the fact that I knew God was there,
yep,
leading me and showing me the different areas that I could be involved in, which was many. And one of the guys at Gymea Baptist had worked with the World Vision, and he was asked to start up an office in Sydney, and he needed somebody to help him, not on a regular basis, but just, and he asked me if I would help him, which is what I did.
So that was just doing some behind the scene admin stuff?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. He was starting up an office, so there were a lot of things that involved in starting up an office. Then
So your time at the bank and learning the admin side actually worked.
yes, yes, and working with the independent schools, teachers' employment office, you could say. That was helpful.
Yep.
Run by two elderly ladies, which was interesting. But they they taught me a fair bit in the admin side of things. And then I was on my own, and I did some temp work. I wasn't terribly involved in long job offers, and that was good.
So this is the late 70s coming into the early 80s.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And then from then on, I was this same fellow that asked me to work with him for World Vision.
And Mum doesn't want to say his name because it's John as well. So to try and, Mum married a John, then starts working for a John.
And then
HR issues come about, and she ends up marrying the boss. But we'll get to that. So you've seen God at work preparing you for in that admin world.
Yes.
John leaves World Vision and moves into. He gets asked to take on a role in a travel agency.
Yes.
Tell us about that travel agency. What was it set up for? What was its purpose?
Okay, the travel agency was called International Travel Alliance. It was run by the
It was a not-for-profit.
No, it was not for profit, but it was for missions on missionaries, and so it was a Christian organisation run by Christians. And the board were Christian, either ministers or missionaries who were in charge of the mission that they represented. So in that we did all the most of the travel for.
You did SIM, which is Sudan. No.
Sudan Interior Mission.
Yep.
They've all changed now.
Yeah.
And
I just remember SIM because they were at Miranda.
That's right.
And I used to drop stuff off and pick stuff up for you.
Yes.
Along the way. Okay, so that's the core business. Obviously, you probably did other business.
Oh yes.
Like you're a travel agent.
Yeah.
How long did ITA run? Were you at ITA?
At least 10 years.
Yeah.
It was a long time.
Yeah.
It was an interesting time to see the missionaries come through our office.
Okay. So what I preempted and asked Mum, we're thinking, how's God at work in our day-to-day life and through our work? So you've got yourself a job, or God's given you a job where you're helping others do ministry. Mm-hmm. Is there any stories you've thought of once events that stood out for you? I mean, I've got my favourite event, but that's only going to get me in trouble tonight. So, Mum, because you used to organise tour groups over to Israel, and we're at the airport saying goodbye to Mum.
Oh, yes.
And there's a 40-year-old man who's with his mother.
Never married.
And we hear this, "Thanks, Mumsy." And Mum, you'd see the heckles roll. Ever since then, if we want to stir Mum up, we call her Mumsy. But that's not a God thing.
No.
So Is there a couple of things where you just saw God at work?
Well, I can't say that this particular one was God at work. It was quite funny because we used to do travel for anyone, and they were mainly Christians that knew what we were doing and supporting us. But you know, it's interesting the way people who haven't travelled before have concepts of a plane. All right, it's a big thing, many seats in it. But Kerrie, what does WC stand for? And the whole office just stopped, and we were wondering what was coming next. He said, I don't understand a WC. And I can't think of his name, but anyway, that doesn't matter.
Ruth sitting over there watching, going, what's a WC as well?
What is a WC?
A WC is a toilet.
A water closet.
Yes. I haven't looked at a map of a plane recently to see whether they still call it a WC or what they call it. So I couldn't tell you.
I think they label WR for washroom.
Oh, okay, WR.
But
anyway, he said, can we have a shower on board? And I looked at him and I said, a shower? I said, these things are just very pokey. I said, you wouldn't be able to stand up in a shower and have some room to wash yourself. So I said, no, they don't. Oh, well, how do I clean myself? I said, you don't. And he was flabbergasted.
mind you, I mean, let's put it in context. This is back in the 80s.
That's right.
Late 70s, early 80s. Today there are first-class executive suites that do have showers today, but back then travel was
very
a lot
basic.
Basic, yeah.
Yes.
Yes. But so that's pretty funny. But what's some?
Well, that was the one that first came to mind when you asked about that, and I thought, well, that was about the only thing. I think most people, we did a trip to Israel and took a tour. There were quite a few tours, but this one I was able to go on. And it was, the people were brilliant on the tour. We had a great time. I'd hate to go now. In fact, I'm glad I've not been back, although I would love to go back. But that was an interesting place. But as far as silly things or, like that young boy, that young fella, or the one Cameron has mentioned, for the missionaries, it was going to a new country. They're leading, God leading them to go to that country. What is that country like? We've got all of this stuff to get across to this country. Most of it was Africa and South America. And it was, and Asia. And it was like, well, don't worry, because we're part of an organisation in Holland that help missionaries. Although they were a Catholic group, they help missionaries travel with their luggage. So it didn't matter how much luggage you had, we were able to get them on board with all their luggage. And we were able, in those days, I must admit, the airfares that you get now are just what we call a point-to-point fare. So it's Sydney, Melbourne, Hobart to London, and it's one stop. Years ago in the 80s, you used to be able to go from Sydney to Singapore, to India, to Pakistan, to wherever. And you could have umpteen stops. And we did have a couple that were high school principal and deputy principal. And they used to write to missionaries all over the world. So they decided to do a trip and visit every one of their contacts. And it was interesting because I suppose I'd been in travel for about 2 years, and they came to me and they said, Kerrie, we want to go around the world. We thought, boy, how am I going to work this fare out? Because the fare was not a point to point. You had to work out the fare as a mileage fare. And we had a book where you worked out, the distances between everything. And there is a quite a natty little how to work it out. The fellow that ran the business before John came in was a whiz on it, and he could get so much in a fare that it wasn't funny. And so he taught us how to do it. And then had the airlines ring us up and say, how did you get that fare, for that price? But it's easy. Well, it's not now, but it was at that stage. But to look at the missionaries sitting in front of you and seeing, their excitement, their anxiousness of going that far away to learn their language and to translate it into the Bible was quite an exciting thing to see.
Yeah.
And some of them had children, some of them didn't. Some of them I thought, no, you won't last. There was just something about them. And I mentioned that to one of the, it was the Mission Society that they were going out with. And I said, look, I don't know. I just don't know about this couple. And he said to me, Kerrie, don't worry about them. He said, they are brilliant. And I said, how impressions can, can change. And so I had to sort of sit back a bit and sort of, instead of looking at them in my eyes, look at them in God's eyes. Yeah. Because God had called them to go, and that's what he did.
Now I'm going to ask you another question on that. Did you ever hear about them again?
No, I know that they were very good.
So they
stayed.
Yeah, I was going to say they lasted the term at least. If they didn't collapse and come home quickly, so to speak.
No.
So your instincts in that case was wrong, and you sort of went, oh, hang on, and yeah.
Yes, and yes, it made me look and think. We do look at people and think we put them in a box. Yeah. We put them in a box, and we shouldn't. It should be you're looking at them from God's eyes and say, God has called them.
Yep.
And that's where it should start and finish.
Yep. It's
not our position to say, God, they're not right for this job, you know. But and I learned from that.
Yep.
And God, when you look back, even in your own life, you can see God has worked through it, and you can learn.
Yeah. I liked what you said just a moment ago. The excitement you got sitting on the other side of the table, seeing you're not going.
No.
But you're enabling them to go, and you're seeing their excitement, and you're getting excited.
Yep.
You're probably also getting nervous about writing down how much it's actually going to cost.
Well, they
in that-
didn't have to.
Yeah, I know
basically-
they didn't have to pay, but it still is. There's, like, so that, I mean, the blessing there of being able to, you've been taught how to work the system to get the best price possible. I mean, today we go along, we say we want to go to, and we hop online and we go flight between here and here, and the computer tells us what the price is.
Yep,
It's very rare do we actually pick up the phone or go into a travel agent. I know when we did the Philippines, the Congregational Church uses a travel agent. George, I can't even think what the olive tree.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they did all that stuff. And I think that's just a great little ministry to have. So ITA was a great time. I fondly remember coming in and, for the kids, like you do an assignment, and it was like, oh, we need to do a thing on Fiji, and for us it would be a sheet of paper this size, and I'd go in and get old travel magazines of brochures, and stick stuff on, or I'd go in and help you out, but for us as kids it was great because we could just go into town and Mum was in town, and so but so God's at work through you providing admin, and you're getting excited by that. Now ITA came to an end.
Yes.
And you end up where?
I ended up at Wesley Mission.
Wesley Mission. Now,
Yes.
you weren't just at Wesley Mission doing admin. What were you doing there?
I was Gordon Moy's PA.
So you were personal assistant to the head honcho.
Yes.
And Gordon Moyes was, back in the 80s and 90s, was a big name. He's now with the Lord.
Yes.
What... I probably didn't preempt this one because I'd half forgotten. I know we talked about it. Is there anything there where you can see what about looking back? Could you see God at work moving you from ITA finishing, and that wasn't your choice in the grand scheme of things. That finished up when not there. How did you end up with Gordon Moyes?
Well, from Gommy Baps, one of the fellows worked at Wesley Mission. He was a photographer and did films of Gordon, taking Gordon over to Israel, and Gordon had done a couple of videos with him in front. And he and Martin said to me, he said, Gordon needs a PA, and would you like to, why don't you go and have an interview? So I did.
Had you met Gordon with that travel? Because did Martin do the travel through you guys, or did? Yes or no? It doesn't.
No.
Okay. No, that's okay.
Oh, hang on. Yes, I think I did a number of them.
Okay. Doesn't matter. It's just another question.
I think yes, I think I did. So yes, I went and was interviewed, and I got the job, and it was like, PA? Oh, good grief! I've got to learn a computer again, because in the travel, we had a computer, but it was an airline computer, so it was, oh dear.
Because this
in
was
the deep.
And this was back when Microsoft was just sort of coming through, and so you were learning Excel and all these. What today? These kids are just be like, oh yes,
I need them.
Yeah. That's okay.
But yeah, and it really was, because I hadn't been trained really as a PA.
Yep.
Yes, I was back office admin, and that suited me. That fine, but yes, it was a bit of a yes.
So you spent a number of years with Gordon.
4.
Was that all?
Yes.
Okay, I thought it was longer than that. No. Life rolls on. But while you're at Wesley, you get remarried.
No, I was
No, sorry,
remarried before.
No. Oh, so you got married
yes.
before you left ITA.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
that's probably why I thought you were Gordon longer, because I'd moved out of home not long while you were at Wesley, I guess. Yeah. Okay. How did you? Is there anything that jumps out where you saw God at work through what you're doing while you're at Wesley?
Well, I think, and I say this kindly, being PA was a little different in that things were a bit strained.
Yep.
And I think I was able to help those that were sort of a bit put out for one reason or another.
Yep. You played a lot of mediator roles.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
That's okay.
But it was an interesting role because it was interesting the way all the activities that grew out of Gordon's time being the superintendent. He did increase a lot.
Yep.
Including drug arm.
Yep.
Which John took on.
Yep. So we'll move fairly quickly through that then. So you spent time, because I remember when you finished up at Wesley and you were pretty burnt out, and I guess working in that high, to say today would be classified as a high-powered position, very political, because Gordon was up there in that's the realm he operated and worked in and did what he did in. And God used him greatly for various things.
Yep.
So you were able to, in essence, support God's ministry through that. While you're at Wesley, John O'Hara, now your husband, gets him. How did drug arm come about?
You don't want to know.
Okay. Well, we don't want to know. Okay, so drug arm's around. We don't want to know.
I was sitting at my desk, and I had, I don't know, papers or what in front of me, and I looked, and there was this ad for someone to start up an organisation called Drug Arm, and I read it, and I thought, oh, John's done all of that except working in jails. So I ring him up and I said, oh, John, I've got just the job for you. And he said, why, what is it? And so I read it out to him and I said, but the only thing you haven't done is jails, working in jails. And he said, well, sorry to tell you, Kerrie, but yeah. He says, I did that in America. So, anyway.
So there's a God thing.
It really was a God thing, that one. Yeah. It really was.
So what does Drug Arm stand for? Because it's not, Drug Awareness and Relief Movement.
Yes.
I remember that one.
Well, you did the course.
So what was the premise? Yeah, the big picture. What's the big picture of Drug Arm?
The big picture of Drug Arm was for Christian volunteers to work on the streets Friday and Saturday, maybe Sunday.
Nights.
At night.
Yep.
Varying times. Some of them started at 7 or 8 o'clock at night and finished whenever, depending on the number of kids that were on the street. It was, I wouldn't say that there were a lot of Christian people that came on board. A lot of them were maybe had been affiliated with a church at some point. But in that, it was gorgeous because we had, I must tell you this because this really sticks in my mind. The first van that we got was in the Sutherland Shire, and we had a little lady, no taller than about that, white hair, absolutely white. And she started, and she came to the course because we trained all our volunteers 2 weekends in a row, Friday night and Saturday. And dear Bess, absolutely gorgeous, arrived and she said, I don't know why I'm here. She said, because I don't know whether I can do anything. And I tell you what, Bess was the best, one of the best volunteers we had. She was in her 80s, and she loved the kids. She sat down on the gutters with them and talked to them like their grandmother. And she, after a while, she started making cookies. And the cookies were put in a cellophane little packet, and she would give them each one individually. And she was the best. And they found out when her birthday was. And so she only did the Sutherland Shire. So as they had a van, they worked in that area. And they bought her a birthday cake and sang happy birthday to her, and which was the most precious thing. But here she is. I don't know why I'm here.
Yep.
And here she is sitting down in the gutter. Did you go out with Bess?
I can't remember who I went out with. All I remember was I actually failed the tests. Because I was the boss's daughter, the boss's son, and the stepson. I was allowed to go out, but I was also one of the few that was actually approved to drive the vans. I got approved to drive the vans, and there was other people that weren't allowed to drive. I do remember that side, but yeah, I just didn't pass the paper tests because not real smart. In that sense,
I don't think we gave you a test.
Yeah, there was some sort of just a general quiz thing. Okay. I don't know, but yeah, I sort of didn't do real well at it. But no, what I remember of those days was actually going out in the van, and we'd leave at 11 o'clock at night, and we'd have a thermos in the back, and we'd hand out drinks, and we'd have information. And but we'd go down to Cronulla, and there was, again, this is early 90s. A couple of the old buildings had been semi-demolished, or structures had been started, but we were actually going in looking for the homeless, and just trying to do it like, I mean, the Salvos have their sleep outs and they have all those sort of things. And it was almost early of that stage. And now there's a group, I know they go specifically up to the Gold Coast for schoolies, and it's called the Red Frog Brigade. And this was all years before that sort of stuff happened. I'm not saying that this is what preempted all these things, but it was just a tool. And we were able to go out and just meet people where they were at, and try to... It wasn't that we were going out saying, you've got to become a Christian. It was, we're called as Christians to meet the needs of people. And how can we help? Well, here's, you need a bed. Well, here's some contacts. You need this. Here's some contacts. Here's, I don't actually think I met anyone that was
Homeless.
No, not homeless, on drugs.
Oh, yeah.
Like as in a drug addict. And when I say that, I think of one of my mates, Jason, who worked for Battelle over in Spain. They would go into the slum, pick up a heroin addict and get them off heroin. Nowhere near that level. We just met the kids out on the street and talked to them. Yeah. And I was 18 at the time, 19. So I was their age.
Yeah.
It was some good times doing that. But yeah, again, God at work here. You know, your progression through, you know, you've learnt this skill, you've learnt this skill, you've learnt this skill, you've learnt this skill, and God's used that. You through ITA, you were able to get God's word out without speaking.
That's right.
You know,
Yep.
you were able to pass, you know, move people from here to here to here to here,
Yeah.
make connections, so that God's work could go out, which then led you to working as a PA, and you got to meet a whole bunch of other people, which then, when you move into drug arm, you're able to reconnect and connect those people. Hang on, we need this or we need that. Yeah, you guys were given vans.
Oh, well, we had to earn. Well, yeah.
You know, like there was vans that were sponsored. They were
Yes, they were sponsored.
and they only came through those connections.
Yep, that's right.
Which again allowed God's word
To
to go out. Then, yeah. So when you look back, we're nearly at the end, Mum. It's okay.
no, that's all right. I'm just sort of trying to think. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. When you look back, is there some sort of highlight? And you can even go after that, you know, like, because all that finished up early 2000s. Yeah. And so we're another 25 years, 26 years since all that finished up. Yeah, maybe that'll be the next trip down. Your next visit, we might go into what you've done for the last 25 years. Is there something, you know, do you sort of look back and go, that's a bit of a highlight?
Highlights. I hadn't thought of highlights. Yes. I suppose in looking back, you can see God at work, and you just talking, us talking, you can remember then that, yes, God was at work. And, you know, you sort of, with so much going on at the time, you don't stop to think, because there's this has got to be done and that's got to be done, and you're going, and God is leading you. And the further you get down the track, like, you know, to when we retired, we can see that God has been there with us all the time, not just part of the time.
Yeah.
Even though we probably don't feel that God is there. God is there, and He's just waiting for the minute to push you in another direction.
Oh, just a thought there. Is there can you think back, and again, it's a dropping one on you. Yeah, we talk about God moving us in this direction, God moving us. Is there a time where you went, oh, we're not meant to go that way? Like, the door got closed. Yeah, we think we're going here. And while you're thinking that, a situation there is like Sal and I, at the end of our first year of marriage, we're living in Dolby. I'm sort of in between jobs. I've been working on the roads, and the boss on the road, the contract finished, and they said, if you get yourself to the next job, we'll re-employ you full time, but you've got to get yourself there, which was their way of not having to pay you to move. And they said, another job's going to start in 3 weeks' time in Warwick. Get up there. And, you know, so we started thinking, oh, well, we're going to move to Warwick. 3 weeks went past, there was no phone call to say the job started. That job didn't end up starting for nearly 9 months. And it was just before Easter. I woke up one Sunday morning, and in my head was go to Brisbane. Look at Brisbane. And I'm like, but we're going to Warwick. Why am I looking for Brisbane? Okay, get online. Hey, there's a couple of jobs in Brisbane that I could, the qualifications I had at the time, I could go and do. And so we drove down to Brisbane on the Monday morning. I walked into some employment agencies and they're like, oh, you got to book an appointment. And I went, I've just driven down from Dalby. There's this job, and this job. I'd like to, oh, okay. Well, they squeezed me in. And then as I was walking out, the admin girl said, hey, there's another company that have got better options. So we went there and then we walked into where Sal used to work when she was at uni. When are you're moving back? Great. When can you start?
Yes.
So she had a job. I was told I wouldn't have anything till after Easter. The second company rang me that afternoon and said, can you be back tomorrow? We've got 3 days work. And the other job was going to start the next week. So I had to turn around and drive back up. And I never went back to working on the roads for that company. So the door we thought, and God moved us to Brisbane. So is there, in your, movements, is there something there?
You won't believe this.
Okay. I won't believe it then.
No. When I rang John up about the job for drug arm, he said, no, he says, I'm not interested. And I said, well, okay. But we had to go to a decommissioning service for Salvation Army majors. And it was very interesting. We had a lot to do with this fellow and his wife. And he'd been we did all their travel, but he'd been very supportive of of us and what we were doing. And if we, it's just that my nose won't stop. I need a tap. We had to go to this decommissioning service. So we get there and it's full of Salvation Army, of course. But there was a lot of young people and all drug addicts that had come off the drugs because of, the major, who also used to go to the courts and look after the kids while they were in court. And it was interesting because everything they sang was, all to Jesus I will give.
I surrender.
I surrender. And there was just all of those hymns. But not only that, it was the kids that actually stood up and said, if it wasn't for the major, I would not be here today.
That's cool.
And there were, I don't know how many kids that, passed those comments. And it was interesting just to sit through that and listen to all of this going on, plus his decommissioning service. And I just found his decommissioning program the other day. That's what reminded me. And he, going home in the car, I said to John, wow, that was good. Dad, did it give you any encouragement? And John says, no, I'm not doing it. And I said, John, just think about it. You've just been through a decommissioning service. Anyway, we get home, and after that, there were 3 people that John knew. 2 were in Queensland and one's in... And 3 of them, unbeknownst to them, had rung him that following week and said, that job for drug arm is yours. Take it.
Yep.
And he said, came out and he said, Kerrie, that's the 3rd one. I said, well, what's that telling you?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's God telling you?
Yeah.
So he went in to have the interview, and the fellow before him was only a young fellow, all done up to the nines, video computer under his arm, and rattled off all of this rubbish about what he was going to do for, these young people. He didn't have a clue in the world, John said. John was next. I think he was last. And he just sort of waffled on, as he does in interviews. And he didn't have anything with him. He just took it from his head. And he walked out. Oh, Gordon Moyes walked out first without saying anything, because he knew that he wanted John to do it. Anyway, he got the job. And he came out. He says, I got it, but I don't know what I'm going to do. Now, that was a God job.
Yeah.
And it's probably the first time that I've been in that situation where everything circled around and circled around, and those men that rang him knew each other but didn't know that the other was going to ring.
Yeah, that's cool.
It was, I tell you what, yeah.
It didn't answer my question, but it gave the other side where a door was opened, and he just needed
a push to go in.
A push to go through it, yeah.
Yeah.
As opposed to the doors closed. Okay, the reverse side, so to speak, of where I was. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, Mum, I'm going to wrap it up there. Take you off the hot seat. Take the mic off you.
No, it's all right.
Mum said to me, I freeze up in front of cameras. And we probably sat out the back the other day for nearly an hour. Mum's telling stories. And I was sitting there wishing that I had the camera rolling for that, just in the background, so you didn't know. But Mum, you did really well.
Thank you.
And it's exciting to hear some of those stories of your younger years, to call it that. We might sit down another time and talk about the last 25. It's been, because you weren't at Wesley, you weren't doing. I moved up to Queensland in
94.
94, so it's 30. So yeah, it's been a long 25 years since you were doing the drug arm stuff and all that. So thanks for joining us here, guys. Again, this is just a video. I want to encourage people not to just sit there and think it's the minister's job. The minister's going to do all the work. God works through us in our day-to-day lives. He moves us, he guides us, he encourages us. And sometimes, let's say, we've got to actually look back and say, that was a God thing. That was God working in us. And I'm sitting here going, I probably actually should be sitting in that seat sometime and have someone sitting here and asking me some questions. But anyway, guys, thanks for joining us. I hope you've stuck out for it. It's about an hour, I reckon. Thanks for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you sometime here on a Sunday night. And if you've got any encouragement out of this, leave a comment. We'd love to have a chat with you and see what God's doing in your lives as well. Anyway, till next time, thanks for joining us at Derwent Valley Christian Fellowship.